It's me,
Super Mario 64 has been played for an absurd number of collective hours over the last 25 years. So by now, almost every mystery has already been solved. Whether it's about beating the game with 0 stars, decoding what the chain chomps are barking at you, or even exploring parallel universes, there's very little ground left to cover. That is, until I found something so peculiar that I fully expect Miyamoto himself to host a Nintendo Direct next week explaining this. So strap in, half press your 8 buttons, and get ready to have your minds blown. For this mystery, we have to go to the 10th course of the game, Snowman's Land. This bleak, permanently frozen world has inflicted hypothermia on many a Mario. Nintendo originally had to rate this game for adults before offsetting the visual trauma with cheery, carnival-like music in the background. What concerns us for this video is the 6th star, called Into the Igloo. The traditional way for players to find this is to get the green shell and go up this ramp. Upon cresting the hill, you may notice something terribly wrong. Examining this igloo closely, we see that the opening isn't even tall enough for Mario to walk inside. Sure enough, you have to crouch in the game in order to enter. A star wipe transitions us to the True Perversity here. All of a sudden, the entrance is massive. You could practically fit 2 Marios along this axis. And look, the floor is perfectly flat, so it's not like this slopes underground, and we didn't fall in from the ceiling. The cavernous room can fit Goombas, coins, and an entire celestial body? I know this game was targeted at kids, but Nintendo clearly underestimated the intelligence of their player base with this blunder. The question remains for all of this, why? Why didn't they just make the igloo bigger from the outside? Why not transition to a room inside the igloo just big enough to hold a button that would trigger a star outside? I reached out to Nintendo for a comment, but they skirted around the issue completely, stating that this was stupid and a waste of their time, even as a social media intern. Was this a cover-up? I decided to take matters into my own hands and decompile the source code of Super Mario 64. What we're looking at is the disassembly for the game's ROM file. This gets pretty technical, so let me just point out the main elements. See this 5'1" here? That's where Mario's height is coded, 5 feet 1 inch. Then, since the game was originally made in Japan where they use some kind of bizarro measuring system, you'll see a 155 over here. Keen-eyed developers in the audience will already spot what's happening. Nintendo used what was called magic eye encoding to make the level data inside the igloo. Here's a more visual representation that I've reconstructed. This proves that there's no unused code or any other plans inside the ROM file for a bigger overworld igloo, otherwise my rendering would have come out garbled. This ruled out what I could do on my own, and without Nintendo to chime in, I didn't know where to turn. I needed someone who had in-depth Mario knowledge, a gamer who'd spent so much time playing the game that perhaps they'd notice patterns that I'd overlooked. I found just the person, Fast Mario, the top Snowman's Land speedrunner. Here's an excerpt from our call.
Ever since your email, I've been thinking non-stop about why Nintendo would do this. I've got 3 theories.
Yeah, what are they?
The first is that the rest of the igloo is there on the overworld. It's just wearing the vanish cap.
No, it can't be that. I checked the
Magic eye encoding, right. Well, the next theory is that Snowman's Land is just across the hall from Tiny Huge Island, right? Could the igloo have transported the player there?
Maybe. No, there's no snow on Tiny Huge Island.
Oh, good point. Then that leaves only one explanation. Nintendo wanted the igloo to be able to eat a mushroom to get bigger.
I think you're onto something. They must have run out of budget to add mushrooms, which is why I didn't find it in the code. And they never fixed it in re-releases, knowing that the mystery would entice more people to start playing the game.
Exactly. It was about money all along.
I thanked Fast Mario for his time, but even with such a top expert advising me, this conclusion was still just a hunch. So I now turn to you, the gaming community, to help crack this case wide open. What are your theories around the mystery of the igloo?